Alright, welcome back everybody, and we're going to do a pod review today on the Capsicum flexuosum. And I got a couple pods that are ready, so I figured we'd do a little review on it. So let's take a look at the plant, and then we'll go over to the view. Now there's not a lot of pods that are actually ready, so there's only a couple that are actually coming out, but talk a little bit about the plant. What I've noticed with this plant is it was basically dropping all its flowers pretty much the whole year. It did put out a couple of fruits, and we'll show you those in a second. And it did put them out, and a lot of the fruits dropped. It was a very, very hot summer this year, and I think that had a lot to do with just the whole performance of the plant. I mean, I would have had a lot more pods on here if it wasn't so hot. I mean, the temperatures in my greenhouse were hitting 130, 135 degrees. That's one of the reasons why I let that whole thing grow in the middle, because it really reduces the temperature by at least 20, 25 degrees. Keeps it down at least near 100, so that's not too bad. But on this side of the greenhouse, it's all sun, and it really gets even cooking in here, even with the high roof that I got. So I think because of the heat, it caused a lot of fruits to drop and pretty much all the flowers. It probably put out, I don't know, maybe 1,000, 2,000 flowers. I mean, something absolutely enormous amount of flowers. You can see all the flowers all over. The plant is completely covered with flowers. That's all this plant does, is make flowers all day long, 7 days a week. I mean, this thing is a flower producing machine. I've never seen a pepper plant put out as many flowers as the Capsicum flexuosum. And so it did put out quite a bit of fruits, but a lot of them fall. They just weren't staying on a plant. It was just too hot. All the fruits were dropping. It wasn't till within the last couple of weeks that some of the fruits didn't drop. Like some of these actually been on here since the fruit's been coming out. But it took a very long time for these to actually ripen. But all the other fruits that dropped are gone. And all the fruits you're starting to see on here now that are green, all these little fruits that are green, they're relatively only on here since about maybe a week or two. So they're not dropping anymore. It's starting to stay on a plant. And but part of that reason is the temperatures came down quite a bit, compared to, it was basically 90 and above every single day since June. And that really took a toll, not just on this plant, but a lot of my pepper plants. I was getting a lot of pepper drops, and it just really, really, really took a toll on it. So if you do try to grow this plant, just keep in mind that hot summer, this plant doesn't really like hot summers. And to be honest with you, it really didn't even like being out in the direct sunlight. This is like an under canopy plant. This plant likes to grow under certain conditions. It doesn't either like morning sun or midday. I know it definitely doesn't like midday sun. So it likes like partial shade, and it likes to be partly covered by canopy. And I think that it likes the afternoon sun a little bit more than the morning sun. Definitely doesn't like midday sun, but it doesn't like it direct. It likes it indirect. So it's just a very funny plant. You're going to have to fool around with placement for a couple of years until you find out what part of your yard or your greenhouse it's going to grow best in, and should you grow underneath the other plants. And so as you can see, this plant roughly got to around, it's in a small pot too, but it roughly got to around maybe 3 feet in height, and it really sprawled out. It branched out like a tree, more or less. It's not really even grown like a plant. It's grown more like a tree than anything. And it dropped all its leaves the same way it's dropping the fruit. So it doesn't like these extreme temperatures. This plant, I believe, likes cooler temperatures more. So just keep that in mind. Here's a leaf. I'll show you. I just touch it and it'll probably fall off. See how it just falls off? They're turning brown and falling off. It doesn't like the cooler temperatures, and it doesn't like bright light. It'll put them out. It'll keep the leaves for a little while, and then it drops them. It just doesn't make sense to me, but that's what it's been doing. But nevertheless, I got a couple of fruits on here that are actually close to being ready. Some of these I'm going to let ripen a little bit more. All right, you can see that's what it looks like. Now, I was under the impression these peppers would have been a lot bigger than this. I thought they'd be at least the size of maybe maybe a large size pea, maybe twice the size of a pea. But apparently I'm wrong about that, and these peppers are very tiny. They're more like a berry size. So that's a little strange. I thought it would be a lot bigger. Maybe they do get bigger under certain conditions. I don't know. So I tap them too just to make the flowers drop, because if not, they sit on my plants and then they burn holes in the plants when the flowers die. The fungus gets them and then it burns a hole in the plant and the leaf, and then that starts getting disease. So I shake them and then get the flowers out of the way. They're going to fall anyway. But so here's one that we're going to taste test. This one's actually ready, and I figured let me get this in now, being it's still kind of early and the pods are starting to come in on a lot of my other plants, and I'm going to be very busy with pod reviews. So this one's ready, so why not take advantage of it? So I'll show it to you on the plant first. Here it is. You can see there's pods all around it, but here's the pod itself on the plant. I want to show you what it looks like. You can see it kind of just hangs down like that. It doesn't have much of a calyx, and it's not really that big. It's maybe about the size of a dried pea, not a pea like in a pea pod, but when you dry peas out, they shrink. That's about the size of it. It's the size of a dried pea. So that one looks like it's about ready. There's a bunch on here that are just starting to get orange now. This one looks like it's pretty much ready. I'm going to pick this and give you a better close-up. But like I say, there's others that are starting to come in, and I'll probably worry about those later. As far as picking it, they're just too early now. I'm probably not going to pick any of these pods until they're fully ripe, because I want to make sure the seeds are good. So let's get this one off the plant. Came off pretty easy. Give you a better view of it. Okay, so that's the Capsicum flexuosum right there. Now, it is a black seed variety, so I don't know how many seeds are actually going to be inside of this thing. Probably not many. I'd be lucky if I get any seeds out of it, because I know with the Cap 501 pepper, it'll produce pods pretty good size and not have one seed in it. And at best, you might get one seed. So it's like 50% of the pods off the Cap 501 don't have seeds in them. And the ones that do, it only has one seed. So, that's probably not a variety I'm going to continue to pursue growing, because it's just ridiculous. I mean, all of those pods and all I get is one seed. It's a seedless pepper variety. So I'm hoping this ain't the same situation. I'm hoping I get a couple seeds out of this, and I'm hoping I get a lot more berries out of it. And I am going to winter this plant over for winter and then bring it out next year. I'm going to try growing it in a different part of either the greenhouse or maybe even try growing it outside and see. That might be a mistake, though. The sun might burn it off. I got a feeling this plant does not like direct sunlight, so I'm not sure how to deal with that. I might have to repot it as well and put it in a little bit bigger of a pot, maybe let it get a little bigger, because this is, like I say, this is more of a tree or a large shrub or bush than it would be a plant. So not quite sure how to deal with that. But that's it again. And that's really it. Let's turn you around and give that a go. Alright, welcome back everybody. We're doing another pod review for 2020. This is going to be the first pod review for 2020, and it's going to be with the infamous, if you could see that, get right lighting here, Capsicum flexuosum right there. We got one that's ready. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be the full size of this pepper or what the deal is with it, but it's quite small. It's about the size of a pea. A dried pea. Got a we got a little guest in here. He just came in just right when I'm shooting this video. He just flew in here and got stuck. So that's it right there. And I'm trying to get you in the bright lighting here. I'm wearing my my HR Seeds t-shirts. I do have t-shirts now available, so you can buy some. Hint, hint. So anyway, that's it right there. And again, I mean, I don't know much about this variety. I believe there's two species, or there's like one main species, and then there's like a subspecies of it. And it's it's very similar to the one that I have. I believe the one I have is like the main species, and then I believe there's a subspecies to it. It's like another variation of Capsicum flexuosum, but I don't know that for sure. There's really no literature on it. I have to search archives and all kinds of stuff to try to just see if I can scrape up something about it. I just don't have the time to do that kind of intensive research on something you should really be able to just look it up on the net and find out about it. But apparently, it's not there on the net, so I have to go through all this trouble. I just don't have the time for it, to be honest with you. But I do believe there are two species of this Capsicum flexuosum. One's a primary, one's a subspecies, I believe. And the subspecies one is like a purplish type flower. I again, you can't quote me on that, but this particular variety produces a berry that's basically red to dark red. I would imagine if you let this thing fully ripen, it's probably going to turn. You can't see my face. I have to face this way. It's probably going to turn red eventually, but I at some point I got to do the pod reviews on here, and this is like the first thing that's ready. That and the Dragon's Breath, but we ain't doing another pod review on the Dragon's Breath. I'm done with that. So it's an orange, and it might be red. I don't know which color the berry truly will be, but eventually once this thing starts putting out more pods and they start ripening, I'm going to let them ripen all the way through. And when that happens, I'll have more images and I'll put them on my website and everything. But for the sake of this video, I do have one pod that is ready, and we can do a taste test on it. I do not know if this thing carries any kind of a heat on it or not, so that's going to be kind of, new to me. But let's, without any further ado, let's give it a go. Wow, what a weird flavor on this thing, man. This thing's strange, guys. This thing's got a weird flavor, and it does have heat on it. It has one seed. See that black seed? It's a black seed variety. Okay, it has one seed. It's got some heat on it. It's my first pepper of the year, so put that seed down. That thing is like gold to me, because you know how many peppers I've been through on this thing? It had peppers on it and they all dropped. It's hard to get seeds out of some of these varieties. I can understand why a lot of people don't want to sell these varieties. They're just, you can't stock them. I mean, it doesn't make seed. What's the point of growing the plant? It just makes like 4 seeds. What are you going to do with that? No, you can't really, you don't have enough to even give away. Okay, so let's talk about that flavor, and then we'll kind of touch the heat. We'll talk about the heat. Okay, so the flavor on it had a weird flavor, guys. The thing tasted like a berry when I first ate it. It had like a berry type of a flavor, and it was sweet like a berry. And I didn't get the heat right away. So it was sweet like a berry. It had like a funny undertone to it, or overtone or undertone. Had this funny berry flavor, and then I tasted a little bit of like maybe pepper in there somewhere, but it was more of like a berry flavor than anything. It was just a really strange effect. I will say that. It was just a bizarre, strange type of an effect from that pepper. And that's really all I can say about it. I mean, the flavor was very minute. You'd have to eat like a handful of these things to really grasp the flavor of it. But the heat on the thing was pretty good. It wasn't like, it's not going to knock you off your feet, but there was heat on it. I thought maybe it would just be a little heat. No, this thing's got some kick to it a little bit. So basically, it's burning just the tip of my tongue, a little bit on the inside roof of my mouth, and in between my front teeth, the gums in between. And it just kind of goes back from the tip of the tongue back a little bit, and that's it. Not really a burn in the back of the throat. There's really not enough of anything in it for me to really get like a throat burn from it. What I will say though is the burn didn't hit right away. I had to chew it up a little bit, and then the heat came on, and it's already down already. So it came on, it started pounding on a little bit on the end of the tongue, and then it kind of worked its way back, and now it's already dissipating. That could be because there's just not enough material in the pepper really to give you any kind of a major burn. I mean, it was like a little berry. There's like nothing there, guys. But it did have heat. It was, if I was to give it a Scoville rating, oh, maybe 1,000 on a Scoville, maybe something like that. It wasn't very hot, but that's 1,000 on a Scoville, or even 1,500 on a Scoville, because I still feel it on the tongue slightly. Even for that, for a little berry, it was pretty intense. It had a pretty, for a tiny little thing like that, it definitely had some kick to it. So it's definitely an interesting plant to grow. I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is it. After this video, I'm not going to be covering this plant anymore. This is just my final stage. Once I do my pod review, I said everything I need to say about it. I grew it. I went through the whole experience with it, and now I'm done, you know. So hopefully you can grab whatever kind of information you're looking for if you're getting involved with growing the plant, and hopefully that helps you. But I'm done. I'm not doing any more videos on it. So that's really it. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it other than, like I said, we covered the flavor, which was a strange flavor. It was very sweet, like a berry. That's the only way to describe it. And there was like a flavor to that sweetness, like an undertone. I couldn't begin to. It's such a small amount. It's so hard to grab the flavor or anything. It's just, it's just too hard for you to really grasp what that undertone would have tasted like. But it was strange. It was a strange little flavor, and the undertones with it and everything. There was maybe a slight pepper flavor, but really not much of it, really, for me to say that it tastes like a pepper. It was like a slight peppery flavor, but the heat grabs you, and then you lose track of it because it's so small, you know. But it had a strange flavor. That was an interesting thing. I wasn't expecting that, really, to be honest with you. I was kind of expecting it not really to have heat at all, to be honest with you. But no, it had heat on it. That thing had some heat on it. So, I mean, what I would say is if you plan on growing this thing, I planted like maybe 30 seeds. Somebody gave me quite a few seeds for this. And I planted like 30 seeds to this thing, and I got maybe 3 to sprout. 3 seeds out of 30 plants, and those seeds were about a year old. 3 seeds out of 30 seeds I've gotten out of it, out of a year-old seed package, sprouted. Almost none of them wanted to sprout, and two of them were like deformed kind of, and they kind of sprouted. They grew a little bit and they died, and then finally I was just left with the one plant that we're growing now, and that one survived. I got lucky on that one, and it survived. Outside, if it wasn't for that one plant, out of 30 seeds, none of them would have sprouted. So what I would say is that this is a very difficult variety to grow. I think that I think that I've read that the seeds can sit in a dormant state for a while. So they may not grow now, but you can leave them in the soil. Maybe 6 months later, they'll sprout up on you. It might be one of those things. They just lay dormant for a while. I don't know, but I wasn't going to wait no month or 6 months before I'm going to grow it. If I can't get one to sprout soon, then we're not doing it. But we did. We got it, and you just witnessed the pod review on it. I think I'm probably the only one, maybe, on the internet to actually do a pod review on Capsicum flexuosum. So, but it's going to be the last one. So hopefully that gives you some kind of, an idea on what the Capsicum flexuosum is like. Give it a go. If you can get seeds to it. I don't know if I can actually offer seeds to it because that pod only had 1 seed in it. And what am I going to get off of this thing? Maybe another 15 or 20 pods. What am I going to end up with? 20 seeds? That's not enough. I can't offer that. I thought I would be, but there's not enough seeds inside the pod. So maybe it'll put more. I mean, they put out a lot of flowers, but they didn't turn to pods. And the few pods that did form on there that looked like they were going to do good, they fell to the ground. They just dropped off. It was just too hot. This plant doesn't like hot weather. So hopefully it keeps flowering all the way through the winter and I can get more and more pods. And maybe I'll offer some seed. But if you can't get it from me, just keep looking around the internet. You'll probably get lucky and maybe find somebody who's actually selling Capsicum flexuosum, and you could get seeds from there. And then, give it a grow. See if you have any better luck than me. All right, so that was it. That was a quick pod review on a Capsicum flexuosum. If I have seeds, I'll leave a link in the description below, and I'll also leave whatever information I have on the Capsicum flexuosum in the description and on my website. And if I do have seeds, you should be able to click that link and it'll bring you over to the website page, and you should be able to buy seeds if they're available. If they're not, oh well. All right, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.